Hello students, we are discussing modern theory of international trade. We have seen that modern theory of international trade is also called external theory of international trade or factor endowment theory of international trade. So here we have seen that Swedish economist Bertil Ohlin, Elie Hexter and Bertil Ohlin developed this theory. So it's popularly called Hexter-Ohlin theory or HO model. Okay, so here modern theory of international trade, according to this theory, the central idea is the trade takes place between two countries mainly due to differences in the prices of commodities in different countries. ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗುವ ವಸ್ತುಗಳ ಬೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿರುವ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಇದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಎರಡು ದೇಶಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ವ್ಯಾಪಾರ ವಾಣಿಜ್ಯ ಸಂಬಂಧಗಳು ನಡೀತದೆ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ವಸ್ತುಗಳ ಬೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಬರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರಣ ಏನು? What's the real reason for differences in the prices of these commodities? According to these two economists, the price differs mainly due to differences in factor endowments. Availability of factors of production are different in different countries. Factors of production, mainly we can say labor and capital. The availability of these factors of production are different in these two different countries. So naturally, price differs. If labor supply is more, the country can produce labor-intensive commodities. Supply of capital is more, the country can produce more and produce and supply capital-intensive commodities. So the central idea of this HO model is the countries which are rich in capital produce and export capital-intensive commodities. The countries which are rich in labor can produce and support labor-intensive commodities. So we can say trade takes place between two countries according to Hexter and Ohlin. So we also seen that this theory has two components. In this particularly, first of all, we have seen that the availability of factor endowments or factors of production are different in different countries, and also in each production function, you know, the production is the effort of different factors of production. So the production of each commodity requires different proportions, different degrees of factors of production. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ವಸ್ತುಗಳ ಉತ್ಪಾದನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸುವ ಅದು ಕಚ್ಚಾ ವಸ್ತುಗಳ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಏನು ಲೇಬರ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ನ ಅಗತ್ಯತೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಬಂಡವಾಳದ ಅಗತ್ಯತೆ, ಟೂಲ್ಸ್, ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇವುಗಳನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸುವ ಪ್ರಮಾಣದಲ್ಲಿ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಈ ರೀತಿ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಉಂಟಾಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಯಾರು ಎಲಿ ಹಿಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ ಅಂಡ್ Bertil Ohlin ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. So Bertil Ohlin developed this theory. Actually, he modified, he improved this theory in his famous book Inter-Regional and International Trade, published in year 1933. So 1919 ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲಿ ಹೆಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ಥಿಯರಿಯನ್ನು ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಏನು ಹಲವಾರು ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳನ್ನು, ಮಾಡಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ಟಿಲ್ ಓಹ್ಲಿನ್ ಈ ರೀತಿ explain ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. So they can say while explaining his theory, Bertil Ohlin and Elie Hexter gave the example of the trade relation between India and England. You know that India is labor-rich country, labor-abundant country. Supply of labor force is more in India. So naturally, India can produce and supply labor-intensive commodities. Particularly, we can say India is agriculture country, and produce and supply more and more agriculture commodities. So particularly we can say the country can produce more tea, rice, wheat, etc. And supply to other countries. England, it is capital-rich country. It can produce, say, you know, industrial revolution started in England itself. Factory system of production started in England. So England is capital-rich country, capital-abundant country. England can produce and supply capital-intensive commodities. So naturally, we can say Professor Bertil Ohlin developed this theory. They gave the example of trade relation between India and England. India known for labor-abundant country. This England known for capital-intensive country or capital-abundant country. Trade takes place between two countries, India and England, according to Bertil Ohlin. So this theory, I told you, this is also called factor price equalization theory. See, modern theory is also called equalization of commodity prices and equalization of factor prices. So we can say here, in the case of equalization of commodity prices, we know that when there is a scarcity of any commodity, prices of that commodity go up, isn't it? Similarly, when there is abundant supply, ಯಾವ ವಸ್ತುವಿನ ಉತ್ಪಾದನೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿರ್ತದೋ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೋ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲಿ ಅವುಗಳ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಬೆಲೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದಾಗ ಬೆಲೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಅವುಗಳ ಬೆಲೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಹೆಕ್ಸ್ಚರ್ ಅನ್ನು ಬರ್ಟಿಲ್ ಹುಲಿನ್ ಮತ್ತು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಕ್ಸ್ಚರ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, there is equalization of commodity prices. ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಈಕ್ವಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳಬಹುದು, ಬೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಲೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾದಾಗ ಅದರ ಬೆಲೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆದಾಗ ಅದನ್ನು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಈಕ್ವಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಬರ್ಟಿಲ್ ಹುಲಿನ್ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ದಿಸ್ ಟು ಸ್ವೀಡಿಶ್ ಇಕನಾಮಿಸ್ಟ್ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ರಿಲೇಷನ್ಸ್, ಎರಡು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ವ್ಯಾಪಾರ ವಾಣಿಜ್ಯ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಗಳು ನಡೆಯುವಾಗ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ವಸ್ತುಗಳ ಉತ್ಪಾದನೆ ಹೇರಳವಾಗಿದೆಯೋ ಅದನ್ನು ವಿರಳವಾಗಿರುವ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡುದು, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ವಿರಳವಾಗಿದೆಯೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೇರಳವಾಗಿರುವುದರಿಂದ ತರಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವುದು. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಕೊರತೆಯ ನಿವಾರಣೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಹೆಚ್ಚಿದ್ರೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರುವ ಪ್ರದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡುದು, ಅದರ ವಸ್ತುಗಳು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದ್ರೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿರುವ ಪ್ರದೇಶದಿಂದ ತರಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇರುವಾಗ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಈ ರೀತಿ ಬೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗುವುದನ್ನು ತಡೆಗಟ್ಟಿ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಸಮತೋಲನ ಬೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಥಿರತೆಯನ್ನು ಸಾಧಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಈ ಥಿಯರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವೀಡಿಶ್ ಇಕನಾಮಿಸ್ಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ this theory is also called equalization of factor prices. Factor prices means prices of factors of production. Other labor irbodu, capital irbodu, ಇವುಗಳ ಬೆಲೆ ಏರಿಕೆ ಯಾವಾಗ ಆಗುದು. See, for example, take case of labor force. When the price supply of labor force is less, price go up. See, in our India, there is a supply of skilled labor force is less. Naturally, we are paying more to such skilled labor force. So we can say, illi take the case of production sector. When the availability of factors of production is less, their price go up. At that time, when they are available large quantity, supply of that factor is more, so it is possible to import that factor from that where they are available in plenty. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇರಳವಾಗಿದೆಯೋ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಅವೈಲಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಇದೆಯೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ವಿರಳವಾಗಿರುವಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ತರಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ವಿರಳವಾಗಿದೆಯೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೇರಳವಾಗಿರುವಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ತರಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು. ಸೊ ಅಗತ್ಯತೆಗೆ ಅನುಗುಣವಾಗಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು, ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ, ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಈ ರೀತಿ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್ ಟು ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಈಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಸ್ ವೆಲ್. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ವೇ there is equalization of prices of factors of production as well. So of course we can say perfect equality is not possible, not in the commodity market, even the factor market perfect equality is not possible. So in this way, in this theory, Hexcher and Ohlin, Hexcher and Bertil Ohlin used to explain these factors like the countries which are abundant in any factor. It means if it is capital abundant country, produce and supply capital intensive commodities. Labor abundant country, produce and supply labor intensive commodities. So trade takes place, prices of products differs in different countries. This is the main reason why trade takes place between two countries according to this theory, according to Hexcher and Ohlin model. Bertil Hexcher and Bertil Ohlin, it is popularly called HO model or factor price equalization theory or factor endowment theory of factor endowment theory of international trade. So with this, say regarding criticisms of this theory, even though this theory was widely accepted, more popular theory, even then it is not free from criticism. So see, this theory is criticized on the ground that particularly in the real world, trade takes place between two countries even though they are similar factor endowments. See, for example, trade takes place between England and America. Even though both are capital-rich countries, trade may take trade in the present level. Trade takes place between two countries, so we can't say trade takes place only between the countries which are rich in factor endowments. In the modern world, trade takes place. Countries are interdependent. The country can purchase or country can carry on trade transaction between two countries, whether they are similar factor endowments or differences in factor endowments. That is true in the modern world. And again, we can say this theory, H2 model, depends upon based on various assumptions like perfect competition, free trade. All these notions are not agreeable in the present day world. And also, you know about general equilibrium analysis. This concept actually general equilibrium analysis, we mean prices of all commodities taken together. This theory is based on partial equilibrium analysis, taking considering only the prices of the commodities in question. It means traded between the countries. So to that extent, also this theory has certain limitation. And also we can say in the modern world, and there is one famous paradox. It's called Leontief paradox. So American economist Professor Leontief, he developed his own paradox called Leontief paradox. In paradox means paradox andrenu database study. ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಿಸಿದ ಹಾಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಡಾಟಾವನ್ನು ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಒಂದು ಥೀಸಿಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಬರೆದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಪ್ಯಾರಾಡಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಲಿಯೋನ್ಟಿಫ್, ಅಮೆರಿಕನ್ ಎಕನಾಮಿಸ್ಟ್, ಡೆವಲಪ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಡಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಲಿಯೋನ್ಟಿಫ್ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಡಾಕ್ಸ್. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರು ಏನಂತ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, America, which is a capital abundant country, it used to export labor intensive commodities also. When trade takes place between other countries, he recognized or noticed one strange factor. America, which is capital rich country, it also used to export labor intensive commodities. So whatever mentioned in this Hexterolian theory is not at all agreeable according to Leontief. So all these are the main shortcomings or limitation or criticisms of this theory. Even then we can say this theory, modern theory, is somewhat superior over classical theory of international trade in different grounds. Particularly we can say Hexterolian theory of international trade, can say it is a special case of international trade. In this theory we have seen particularly there are three factors model, two countries, two commodities, and also two factors of production were considered in this model. But in Ricardo's comparative cost theory, we have seen labor is the only factor of production. The cost of production is considered measured only in terms of labor units only. And then we have seen this theory is particularly Professor David Ricardo, Professor Samuelson, he used to consider Professor Hexter modern theory is somewhat superior over classical theory, that is comparative cost theory, in different grounds also. It is somewhat satisfactory model than classical theory of international trade, because it is based on somewhat modern realistic aspects were considered in this theory. So with this we finish the theory, modern theory of international trade. So I'll give you the notes, and students, I request all the students of second BCom, you are very good students, I know, and please follow the link and join the class, look and study listen all the classes I presented so far, and I'll give you the materials, whatever I take the used to explain in the class, I'll supply the material. So please study well. Thank you then. See you in the next class. Bye.